Hey guys, good to be live. So let's get to the bottom of some big news that happened over the weekend when 31 men piled into a U-Haul were arrested at a pride event in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. CNN reports that these men were a part of the group Patriot Front. I mean, it's making all the headlines right now, not just CNN. Local news covering this in depth, as well as citizen journalists capturing some interesting sound bites from police on the scene. I can't wait to show you guys the police chief's press conference today when a citizen journalist blindsided the police chief with some inconvenient questions the police chief was not expecting. I keep telling you guys this is the era of citizen journalism and independent journalism. And this man asked the police chief the citizens questions. Hey, just so happens one of your officers on the scene was caught on camera saying something different than what you are saying. So what's really going on? Police chief appeared pretty blindsided. We're going to get into what really happened with these alleged Patriot Front members who were piled into the apparently go after gays at this Gay in the Park event. Let's find out what's really going on. Before we get to it, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage. Crime in LA is the worst it's been in decades, and many residents are frightened for their lives. New reports reveal a record 41% of LA residents are extremely worried about the crime happening in their area, and they have a right to be. In just 2021 alone, homicides increased by a shocking 12%. This isn't just an LA problem, it's a nationwide plague. Violent crimes like murder and robbery are spiking across the country. Unfortunately, many cities like Los Angeles and New York don't let residents carry guns, even if they have clean criminal background checks. Luckily, a new company hopes to fix this by getting their product in the hands of every person who needs an alternative to guns, but still wants to defend themselves and their family. Introducing the Fighter Flare flashlight. It is a tactical, multi-use, ultra-bright flashlight designed for self-defense. Anyone from an experienced veteran to a 95-year-old grandma can use the Fighter Flare ultra-bright strobe light to defend themselves from criminals. It's highly rated by self-defense experts for a reason. Each Fighter Flare comes pre-built with USBs to charge phones, a compass, wire cutter, glass breaker, a hammer, a siren, multiple lighting modes, strobe light capabilities, weather resistance, and more. Solar charging right here. Plus, it can be powered entirely with this solar energy. So Fighter Flare are notorious for selling out and taking months to become available, especially now when so many people are looking for alternative ways to defend themselves. Give dad the gift of night protection this Father's Day by clicking the link down in my description, www.fighterflareflashlight.com. Then enter the coupon code FATHER20 for an extra 20% off during checkout. Guys, Father's Day is around the corner. Order this today at my link down in description. Your dad's gonna love it. That's a glass breaker right there. I love this thing. High tech. Took it down to the border. Like to use it for anything. It's wonderful. All right, guys. Let me show you some of the local news footage. They got these guys being taken out of the U-Haul. Local news covering this. Shout out to the local news. Here it is, KREM2. Look at this. They open up the U-Haul trailer, and it is loaded up with young men with their hands up. They're masked up, and they are apparently carrying shields. They have one smoke canister, according to police, and no other weapons to be reported, according to police. Police said there were 31 men in there. Now, one of the police officers on the scene told a citizen journalist a story that was a little bit different than the official narrative. So there you go. That's the actual cell phone video. So CNN's not making it up, but what's really going on? You know, I can't even show you the video from the citizen journalist, but I have it linked on my Telegram. YouTube probably doesn't want you to see this, but a citizen journalist took their cell phone and filmed a police officer who was standing guard as all these guys had been arrested. This police officer said it was actually 33 men, not 31 men, who were inside that trailer. He also said that these men were carrying spears, not just shields, they had spears. And when asked how police knew that there was something suspicious in that U-Haul, he said they had an informant. Now, a lot of people are talking about this supposed informant. You know, people are talking about a police officer informant. So the official narrative from the police chief is that this was a U-Haul parked outside of a hotel, and one person who was at that hotel happened to see these men piling onto the U-Haul and thought it was really suspicious, looking like a little small army. Yeah, the tipster said it, quote, looked like a little army with their matching khakis and outfits and Patriot Front logo on their hats. And so they called cops, and as that U-Haul trailer was driving, they pulled the guys over. So apparently the U-Haul trailer was not even at the park where Pride in the Park was happening, but I guess it was nearby. And it appeared these guys wanted to wreak havoc on a Pride event. That's the official narrative from the police chief. But after the police officer was caught on cell phone video saying it was an informant, people on the internet are asking, they're talking about a police officer actually calling in that tip because there were informants within the trailer, is the rumor online. Now, I have not seen video that shows that police officer actually saying that. The video that I've seen, only the police officer gets cut off once he says informant, and I don't see what he says after that. So if you guys have additional video of him talking in detail about an informant actually being in the trailer, you can send it my way. But if you want to see the video I'm describing, it's on my Telegram, link down in my description. Now let's get the police chief's reaction to all this, because the police chief was taking questions today at a press conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and he was blindsided by a citizen journalist sitting amongst the corporate press. Let me bring this up, and you can see how it goes down yourselves. I encourage all of you to become citizen journalists and do what this man did at the press conference here. Here it is.
I'm sorry. Are you with the media, sir?
I'm not. I'm a citizen.
Okay, I'm going to ask the media questions here first.
Sir. Online, there was an officer of yours that was filmed stating that there was information and embedded feds or informants within that group. Is there any veracity to that? It was an officer of yours that made that statement on the scene.
No, I think you're completely mistaken. So let me be very, very clear. Let me be very clear here. These were not law enforcement officers that we arrested. These were members of the hate group Patriot Front. These were not Antifa in disguise, nor were they FBI members in disguise.
That wasn't my question, sir. My question was regarding the video that's showing online of one of your officers making the statement, contrary to what you were saying, that you were aware that there was embeds and so on and so forth. I'm not making an assertion one way or the other. I'm just simply suggesting that when you come to a press conference and you're making a statement one way, and this video isn't something that was been ginned up in some conspiracy manner, it's actually someone who videoed an officer of yours on the scene.
Okay, so two things. Number one, I have not seen the video and the comments that you're speaking about, because I have not heard that comment made in any of the videos that I've watched regarding that incident. I was on scene at the stop the entire time. My body cam video will be available once it's appropriate, once everything's being released. You're not going to hear that comment coming from me or any of my command staff, so I'm not sure where that comment came from. Well, and secondly, hang on, since this is a press conference, I'm going to ask you to be quiet, and I'm going to answer questions from the press at this point.
Ooh. Back to the corporate narrative questions. All right. I encourage all of you viewers to do what that man did. Go into press conferences as a citizen journalist. It's most strategic to actually dress like a journalist so you can get in there and ask questions without these law enforcement freaking out that you're not a corporate media journalist. So we need the people's questions answered. So if it takes a citizen journalist going in and doing that, then go for it. J School taught that you don't have to be a part of a fancy corporation to be a journalist. J School taught that anyone can be a journalist, that a citizen journalist can be just as much of a journalist as a corporate news journalist. So shout out to this person going out there and asking the police chief the people's questions. Again, the video that citizen journalist is referencing is linked in my Telegram, which my Telegram link is down in my description. Okay, so again, I think that it's up for debate as to what's really going on with the tipster and all this. And a lot of people are like, I'm seeing you guys say, well, real patriots wouldn't cover their faces, so those are probably feds with masks on in that U-Haul. But I know, I bumped into some actual, I'm going to call them boys who are proud at an event that I was invited to sing at an event. I sing as well as do journalism. So I sing there, and the boys who are proud, we're not supposed to talk about on YouTube, so I'm saying it that way. They were hired as security at the event. And I was like, oh, wow, I've never met members of this group. So I went up and talked to them, and they had masks all the way up to here, those same, like, what are those called? Gator masks or whatever. The same as these guys did. And I think they cover their faces because they're such a controversial group at this point now. The quote unquote boys who are proud, from all my research and experience in interviewing them and their leader, I interviewed their leader on my uncensored website, ivoryhecker.com. I have found no evidence that they are the racist group that they're said to be. That I'm talking about the boys who are proud. Now, this group, Patriot Front, I researched them today because I wasn't familiar with them, and I read their own website, because you can't take what Southern Poverty Law Center says. Groups like that write a lot of BS that's not true. Southern Poverty Law Center is a joke, from what I can tell. They write a lot of fake stuff about different organizations. So I said, let me go to Patriot Front's own website, get to the bottom of the truth about these guys, because the media is calling them white nationalists. So I read Patriot Front's own website, and sure enough, they're talking about the importance of European descendants in America. And apparently the only Americans, according to them, are European descendants. And so I was like, oh yeah, this sounds pretty freaking racist. It seems pretty white nationalist to me. They had some racist quotes that they had on their website as well. So as far as I can tell, the founders of Patriot Front are white nationalists. It is actually shocking to me. When the media first started talking about white nationalists, I thought it was just a made up thing from the media to smear people that they don't like, because that happens from time to time. Or a lot of times the media is just lazy. They take what the Southern Poverty Law Center says as gospel. And so Southern Poverty Law Center can throw whoever they want under the bus, and the media will just go with it because they're lazy. Well, it's just been this past year that I have actually come across people speaking these white nationalist narratives out of their own mouths. So there are white nationalists out there, which stuns me that anyone would be a white nationalist. And appears that the media is not just making this up about this, Patriot Front group. And it's really sad. These people are talking about defending our nation from tyranny. Well, okay, if Patriot Front cares about defending our nation from tyranny, they shouldn't be going after different races. The races are not the problem. It's tyrants at the top who are the problem, who are going to take down every race. Okay. And this is exactly, I was referenced back to Hitler's Germany, and this is how Hitler was able to take over and win, is because there were so many little groups in Germany infighting with each other. They were so bothered, these little groups were so bothered with each other that they didn't realize Hitler was the real threat, and he's the one who took over and oppressed countless people. So the bad guys, the tyrants at the top, are the bad guys, the people who want to oppress everybody. And those guys can only take power if all of the free people are fighting against each other. So free black people, free white people fighting against each other are just going to let the real tyrants win. And so seeing Patriot Front actually write on its own website about, racism, actually being appearing to be pro-racism on its website. I took some screenshots of its website talking about pan-European identity, and the important, we must maintain the pan-European identity in America. Like, if that's what you care so much about, Patriot Front, then you don't really care about defeating tyranny, So I'm just really disgusted with what I'm reading from Patriot Front's own website. Okay, so they have this quote from Calvin Coolidge. So Patriot Front actually wrote on its website a quote, sadly, from one of our own previous presidents that said, quote, "There are racial considerations too grave to be brushed aside for any sentimental reasons. Biological law tells us that certain divergent people will not mix or blend." So they've got these weird racial quotes on their website, and these guys who purport to be for American liberty are obsessed with race instead. And it's really freaking sad. And I'm against racism. And if you're obsessed with skin colors, you're probably gonna succumb to some tyrant who's actually looking to control all skin colors. All right. So that's how I feel about it. It's pretty despicable. So just knowing that Patriot Front, sorry, I'm getting an ad blowing up this website. Okay, from KREM's own website. They just had an ad pop up and distract me. Anyway, so seeing that Patriot Front pushes this racist stuff on its own website tells me this is not a stereotype, or it's not a made up narrative about them from CNN. They actually are a group that wants America to be a nation of only white people. So knowing that, they weren't super clear about their stance on gays, but they may or may not be anti-gay as well, which would be why they would be targeting this gay in the park event in Idaho. But why are these men going to Idaho? The news has been breaking down where these men are actually from, and they happen to be from around America. Matter of fact, local news KREM has a slideshow of all of the mugshots. So here are all of the men who were arrested. These guys were in the U-Haul. Here they all are, according to KREM. And there's, I think the majority of them, or the biggest number of them, was from Texas. I forget where all they were from, but they were from across the nation. A few from Washington State, a few from Colorado, as I recall, and I think some from Wyoming. And their founder is on here too. Let me show you. Yeah, so 31 mug shots. Again, that cop on the scene was saying it was 33 guys, but he may have been mistaken. As a reporter who's covered crime for a decade, I can tell you that police on the scene are actually, it's standard protocol that officers on the scene are not supposed to talk to the media. There's supposed to be one officer giving one narrative about what really happened. And so this officer on the scene broke protocol and actually talked about what he was witnessing, allegedly. And it's unclear if he was getting some things wrong, but he said that it was 33 men. They did have spears inside the trailer. Now, the big thing is there apparently were no guns found inside this trailer. So if these guys were really trying to do something, really bad, they might have had guns, but they had no guns. So this man's image right there, he is the founder of Patriot Front, and he's from Texas. So there you go. There's a lot of Texans. So that's the big story. I see some super chats. Thank you. How do I bring up these super chats? I want to be getting your guys' chats as they come. Thank you so much, Phil, for the super chat. You said, quote, "We are all proud to be Americans." Exactly, dude. Here's the thing with these people who are obsessed about European identity in America and people, patriots who are anti-gay. Here's the thing. In Texas, I don't know how it is across the nation, but in Texas, all the gay guys that I have met are huge patriots. They all voted for Trump, by the way. All the gay guys in Texas that I've met. And when you call yourself a patriot and then you go try to do weird things to gay people for no reason, you're literally like alienating your own compatriot in the fight for freedom. Okay. So it's just freaking weird. Yeah. Gay people are proud to be Americans. So are Black people. I can't speak for everyone, but there's a lot of huge patriots who are Black. So to see Patriot Front basically be anti other races on their own website was pretty freaking gross. It's like, you don't really care about the fight for freedom if you're obsessed with race. Patriot Front. So I'm just reading their own website, not a fan of them, but I had not known about them previous to this. Thanks, Kevin, for the super chat. Happy 1 year anniversary from breaking away from the corporate shackles. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, tomorrow will mark exactly 1 year since I called out Fox live on air. So I'm probably going to, show some things that I've never shown before on my YouTube tomorrow as a commemoration of that, and talk about, some of the other people who have told their stories as well. And, I really want to get with the air conditioning guy who was behind me when I called out Fox. So many people talked about him and how he kind of accidentally went viral with his sweaty back working on the AC. So I never actually talked to that guy. So I wanted to talk to him and be like, I'm sorry for making you viral accidentally. But it's great to be free from Fox's corruption. By the way, I'm going to highlight some of how Dinesh D'Souza today is writing scathing remarks about Fox, putting Fox on blast for good reason. New information on Fox's shenanigans. So we're about to get to that. But the other headline that I wanted to highlight today is in regards to plummeting sperm counts in America and the world. Actually, thehill.com has a new article on this. Quote, combination of common chemicals may be curbing sperm count, study finds. So it says here, a combination of everyday chemicals found in people's bodies may be associated with worldwide plunge in male fertility, a new study has found. Now, this is a study from Science Direct. I'm going to bring the study up on the page as well. They actually looked at men in the Netherlands. That first sentence of the Hill article is a little bit misleading because it makes it sound like the study looked at men globally. It's only looking at 98 men in the Netherlands. Here it is. What they did is, knowing that previous studies have shown a huge lowering of sperm count amongst men, they're trying to get to the bottom of why. And they've identified key toxins that lead to lower sperm count. And they tested 98 young men. I'm sorry. I guess these men were Danish. I could have sworn they were from the Netherlands. My bad. Danish, not Dutch. So they're from Denmark. 98 men. They looked for slew of over 20 different chemicals and toxins that can lead to lower sperm count. And what they found was really bad. Some of these men had up to 100 times higher levels of these sperm killing toxins than is recommended for safe levels. So these men had dramatically high levels of key chemicals that are known to kill your sperm. And some of the chemicals they talk about are what is on the lining of a milk carton. The waxy lining of milk cartons. Well, that can absorb into the milk. And then when you drink the milk, you're drinking something you're drinking the BPA, which actually is really bad for your hormones and can make you unable to have kids if you get too much of it, they said. They also said that another big contributor to lower sperm count was Tylenol. Whatever is in Tylenol, if you take too much Tylenol, it can hurt your ability to have kids. Also, the cans, when you eat canned food, what the cans are made out of can leak into the food. Also, receipts. I was shocked about this. I didn't know receipts, like you go to the store and get a receipt for what you purchase. What the receipts are made out of is also really bad. I guess even touching a receipt is supposed to be bad for your hormones, which can cause you to be less likely to have kids. So they studied these toxic ingredients. They looked for these toxic ingredients in the urine samples of these men, and they found very high levels of all of these chemicals in these Danish men, and found that this may be the reason that there is such a dramatic increase in male infertility. This after I guess the big study that really shocked people about lower sperm count came out in 1992. They reviewed 61 studies of sperm count from the 1930s. From 1938 through 1990, they looked at 61 different studies in that time period and found that sperm count had reduced by 50%. Men in the 90s had half as much sperm as they had in the 30s, according to this review that came out in 1992 as covered by BBC. So people have been looking into why that is, and it appears that year over year, sperm count continues to reduce. So this brand new study that was just published on Friday is suggesting that perhaps the reason that the sperm count continues to reduce is that these men are continually around these toxins, like what milk cartons are made of, what's in Tylenol, what canned food, as well as receipts. And so the BBC article talked about, so the Hill literally said the problem can only be tackled through better policy. People can do relatively little to reduce exposure. The Hill quoted an expert saying, which I think is BS, taking the power away from the people. Of course, you can do something to increase, to decrease your exposure. Stop eating canned foods. Go to more natural, clean foods. Get away from these toxic environments. Don't be taking pharmaceuticals. I don't care if it's even Tylenol. I come from a holistic background where my family's like, screw that. We don't want any sort of pharmaceuticals, including Tylenol. And so I'm just biased that way. But these studies keep showing that all kinds of side effects you didn't want, even from Tylenol, And I bet when you buy the Tylenol, you're not getting a warning that it's going to kill your sperm anyway. So it's an interesting new study I thought I would highlight. But again, this is only a study of 98 men just in Denmark. So it's not a very robust study at all. But I guess it's hard to find men who will submit their sperm. So that's what they are. Oh, the end of May 25th, an article came out of the New York Post that showed losing weight helps big guys double their sperm count. Let me show you that, because this is a pretty important thing. So this study actually, they studied a bunch of guys and who were overweight, I guess obese, and they were told to go on an 800 calorie a day diet for 2 months. At the end of those 2 months, the men's sperm count had jumped up by 41%. So just losing weight, they became much more fertile, I guess. But to have an 800 calorie a day diet, I don't know how these guys survived. That's crazy. Thank you for Super chat man of Martin. 33 dudes on a U-Haul sounds like a triple X video. You know, it was a pride event, so who knows what was going on there. It was a pride event. Pride in the Park in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I've heard great things about Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's like the new hot spot to move to. So it's too bad that weird situation went down in the U-Haul. But anyway, let me get to what's going on with Dinesh D'Souza. So, Attorney General Bill Barr was filmed in regards to, he was interrogated, questioned in regards to his investigation into the election because Trump had asked him to get to the bottom of what was going on with the shenanigans with the election. And Bill Barr said, "Look, I couldn't find enough evidence that would have created a different outcome in this election." And so Bill Barr was filmed being interviewed, I guess, by the January 6th committee, saying, no evidence to this day, no evidence is convincing me of any sort of different outcome, including Dinesh's new film, Dinesh D'Souza's new film. And then Bill Barr literally started laughing about the film as if it was goofy or something. And so Dinesh is firing back. Here's the thing. Apparently Fox News is actually airing Bill Barr talking about this. And this is the very first time that Dinesh's new film has ever been named on Fox. As far as we can tell, Fox has maintained radio silence about this documentary that shows very compelling evidence of shenanigans associated with the election. Yet Fox kept an absolute silence on this topic. Previously, Fox News had covered everything that Dinesh would put out. Any documentary Dinesh would do, boom, Fox wants to highlight it big time. Fox loves Dinesh. All of a sudden, they cover that election, or Dinesh actually does a documentary on the election, and Fox is like, ooh, we got to be quiet about that. It is not until now, the new Bill Barr soundbite comes out, that Fox is allowing the mention of Dinesh's new film. So Dinesh is calling it out because apparently the only way that Fox will allow the name of his film on its airwaves is if someone is dissing his film. So what's really going on with Fox? Dinesh tweeted today, quote, "Now Fox is in the strange position of reporting Bill Barr and Liz Cheney's slanders against his new documentary without being able to discuss the merits or have me on to dispute their ignorant claims." Dinesh goes on to say, "This is what happens to a news network that decides to stop being a news network." So Dinesh is absolutely trash talking Fox. I think he's really disappointed and really eyes opened about how Fox is compromised. I mean, Dinesh had cell phone video of he had surveillance video of these shenanigans going down. And Fox will not even talk about that. So Dinesh also tweeted today, quote, "If geo-tracking is as useless as Bill Barr says, how come it's being used to establish the precise location of January 6th protesters? Not merely whether they are inside or outside of the building, but how many feet inside or outside the door. Can the fat man explain this without laughing?" So Dinesh is just laying into Bill Barr, the former attorney general for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's not a fan of Bill Barr anymore either. Donald Trump was, basically name calling Bill Barr on his Truth Social account this past week. I read those truths for you on my last YouTube. So, to show what Dinesh D'Souza is talking about, let me bring up an article. This is Wired.com. Quote, "How a secret Google geofence warrant helped catch the Capitol riot mob." So Google was tracking these people's cell phones as they went into the Capitol. and could figure out pretty close to exactly their location. Matter of fact, let me show you guys a Forbes article, which actually has a map of one of the January 6th guys' movements inside the Capitol. Look at this, Forbes.com. It says here, this is a screenshot from the Justice Department complaint against an alleged Capitol Hill rioter. And you can see it's got all the pings of his exact locations movement inside the Capitol. They used that geo-tracking location to arrest him for entering the Capitol, yet the same group of people is trying to poo-poo what Dinesh highlighted in his documentary, saying, oh, the same sort of geo-tracking is not precise enough to say that this person was really trafficking the selection of who's going to be president. I have to talk really weird on YouTube, but so Dinesh is basically calling this out. And let me just show you one more article. This is ACLU. Before all these weird narratives were created, ACLU was on it with the geo-tracking stuff. ACLU.org, quote, the U.S. government is secretly using cell phone location data to track us. We're suing. There can be no accountability without transparency. So this was December 2nd, 2020, that ACLU reported on its website that the GPS chips in modern smartphones are being secretly used by our government to track our precise locations and hold it against us if they want to. So, it's just, this data is out there. Okay, companies buy the data sometimes for things like advertising, but in this case, the investigators featured in Dinesh's film purchased that data specifically for the purpose of figuring out what happened with the election. There's so many Americans who really want to know what happened with the election that when they find a nonprofit group like the one featured in Dinesh's film, this group dedicates their lives to making sure that we have elections that actually abide by the law in America, elections that every American can say, okay, I went and cast my vote and it actually counted the way it was supposed to. So this group actually works to do that. And so I think a lot of Americans poured their money and they donated to this group. This group had enough money to buy this very expensive geo-tracking data. You can ask the company to draw a geo map around the area that you're interested in. You purchase all that cell phone data, and then you figure out, you can categorize it and figure out what exactly was going on with certain people in that area. And that is what they did in Dinesh's film, the same way the government did that when they were trying to catch people who entered the Capitol. So Dinesh is calling this stuff out and saying, if my film is such a joke, why did the government do the same thing to indict certain people who entered the Capitol? Interesting times. It's just very interesting to me that this is the only way that Fox was willing to name his documentary, is if they allow Bill Barr to name it, while throwing a jab at the documentary as if the documentary was BS. Thank you, Sith, for the super chat. Quote, look up La MDA. What is that? Google AI has become self-aware. Everyone needs to know this. Okay, I'll have to look that up because I am not familiar. But artificial intelligence it's a big thing. It was something that was focused on at the World Economic Forum this year, as well as the Bilderberg Group focused on it in their secret meeting just a week or two ago. Congress has a new committee focused on this. So artificial intelligence, a lot going on with that. And we're still kind of learning what all artificial intelligence entails. But what I do know is YouTube uses it to censor me, which is why I have to talk in code words a lot of times on this website. Again, I do have a Rumble channel, and all my videos feed over to Rumble if you want to watch there. But right now, nobody's watching me on Rumble, so I gotta film here. With that, thank you guys so much for watching. And thanks for your support. We'll be back with more tomorrow. See you then.